This is Segue, a weekly program exploring the lives and work of the people of Southern Illinois University Edwardsville.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Segue, the show that allows us to talk about issues and ideas here on the campus of Southern Illinois University Edwardsville. I'm Kevin Leonard, the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, and I'm very pleased to be here today with Nick Niemerg, Assistant Director of Constituent Relations in the Office of Alumni Affairs and Co-Chair for SIUE Safe Zone, and Mitchell Haas, Assistant Professor in Library and Information Services, Online Learning Librarian, and also Co-Chair of SIUE Safe Zone. Nick earned a bachelor's degree in Business Administration and Management from Eastern Illinois University in 2012 and a Master of Public Administration from SIUE in 2015, and he began working at SIUE in April of 2018. Mitchell earned a bachelor's degree in History from SIUE in 2013 and a Master of Library and Information Science from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign in 2020. He joined the LIS faculty in January 2021. Safe Zone is a project with free online resources for LGBTQ awareness and ally training workshops. Welcome to Segue, Nick and Mitchell.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you so much for having us.
Well, let's begin by having each of you tell us a little bit more about yourself. Nick, let's start with you. How did you become interested in university advancement and alumni relations?
So this role that I'm in currently, I've just celebrated 4 years, and this is actually my first foray into the university advancement realm. Prior to that, I worked for the city of Bloomington, Illinois, with their Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts Department. I worked at the Performing Arts Center as a volunteer coordinator for all of their ushers for all the shows that came through. So had a great time and really got to interact with people. And I saw this opportunity present itself, and it was a great fit because I still get to work with people on a regular basis, and I really enjoy working with our alumni to help tell their stories about their experiences at SIUE.
Now, is a lot of the work you do coordination of volunteers or event planning, or?
Yeah, so I work primarily with our Alumni Association Board of Directors, which is a 30-member volunteer board of alumni from all different spectrums, all different work backgrounds. So coordinating with them to plan different events and initiatives, both for our alumni and the donors of the university.
Great. Well, and I do want to say that part of my job requires me to interact with alumni, and I have to say that that's one of the great parts of my job is being able to meet wonderful alumni. Every time I come to an event and get to meet people who graduated from SIUE, I'm just floored by their stories because they have some tremendous stories, and many of them have made a real difference in their communities and in the state of Illinois and beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many unique perspectives and so many unique experiences from a campus that is still relatively young. So getting to hear their stories and help broadcast them to a larger alumni and a donor base is really awesome. I enjoy it very much.
Yeah. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Now, Mitchell, how did you become interested in library and information services?
Well, interestingly, I kind of grew up in libraries. Both my mother and grandmother worked in libraries. So every summer I'd be spending most of my afternoons at the public library. But not only that, my very first job in college was at Lovejoy Library working as a student worker. So in an academic library, I've worked as everything from a student worker to a GA to staff to faculty now. So I've gotten to really get a wide array of experiences working in an academic library, and also just that kind of offhand experience watching my mother and my grandmother growing up. I really became passionate about libraries and serving patrons and ensuring that everyone has the access to whatever information they're searching for. It just became really important to me, especially looking for careers after having been in the Army for 5 years.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I didn't realize you had served in the Army for 5 years.
I did. I
Okay.
served in the Army for 5 years as a Korean cryptologic language analyst. So I learned Korean and spent some time over there. Also spent some time in Afghanistan. So I bounced around a bit in the Army as well.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's great. So that sounds like a very different trajectory from somebody who just graduated and decided, I know I like libraries. I want to go into library school. So it sounds as if that experience would have brought a different perspective to your work.
It was very different. It was definitely also a pragmatic choice because I had a child on the way.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be able to do something that would allow me to start working pretty quickly, but it was already something that I had quite a bit of experience in and was pretty passionate about. So, that mix of a little bit of pragmatism with, just really years of experience being around libraries made it a natural fit.
Okay. Well, since you have, I like the fact that you've told us that you grew up in libraries. That's really great. And of course, as a historian, I have a very strong relationship, and many of my memories are of finding things in the library and going to libraries and really feeling at home there. But you're also the online learning librarian.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little different. What's different in terms of how libraries have changed now with all of the online resources from what they were, say even a few years ago?
I think it's changed even exponentially from, say, when I was a student here.
Oh, wow.
I would say that not only has the library here as an entity change, like physically, like the building looks exponentially different, but what we offer is a lot different. There's so many more things that are available online. So much of our collection is now available electronically, and that's so much more convenient for faculty, staff, but especially students who can be anywhere, whether it's in the library, in their dorm room, or in their house 2 hours away. They can access pretty much everything that they need to. And part of my job as online learning librarian is also making sure that all of our information literacy instruction is supplemented through things like online modules and things like that. That way they get really this total package of, an electronic online experience, introduction to information literacy in libraries, but also making sure that all of the online materials compound and really support when librarians go into classrooms.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. Thank you so much for letting us know about that, because for me, it's been just remarkable as my career has progressed, and I don't do much research these days. I don't find myself with very much time, but a few years ago when I was doing much more research, I would pause every so often and realize how easy it was to just find resources online and to not have to leave my office, even though I always still, I really like the physical spaces of libraries, so I always was one of those people who would go to the library and like to hang out in the stacks, but still, it wasn't always necessary for me to go retrieve items physically, and it was also really nice to be able to rely on interlibrary loan and get articles right away that I didn't have access to. Even if I had walked over to the library, I wouldn't have been able to find those on the shelves. So, well, let's shift gears and talk a little bit about the Safe Zone project. So, what is the Safe Zone project, and when and why was it created?
So, Safe Zone was created on campus back in 2000. It was formed by a collective of faculty and staff that were looking for a way to provide training resources to the campus community about anything LGBTQIA plus related. Mm-hmm. And they formed this training program or module from based off of peer institutions. There is a national Safe Zone project that also provides a lot of resources. So we were able to combine all of that together and form our own training that really helps educate the community about queer issues on campus.
So you mentioned that this is not a brand new program, but how has it changed over time?
So when I first I came here in April of 2018. I went to a Safe Zone meeting because I was just curious about the committee, and at the time the committee was meeting once a semester, and we would put together a couple of trainings here and there. Since then, it has grown exponentially, even in our time as a co-chair. We have a more active base of faculty and staff that meet monthly, and the outreach efforts and the events and programming efforts have also increased as well. It's not just we're offering trainings, we're also fundraising, we're also out interacting with the community. So it's definitely reached a broader audience, I think, over the last couple of years.
And what are the, and I recognize that the mission and goals have evolved over time, but what would you say is the primary goal of Safe Zone?
I would say that the primary goal of Safe Zone is to create that safe space, is to educate and create that safe space for all LGBTQIA plus people on campus, whether they be faculty, students, or staff. But, educating allies and creating that community of allies so that those people on campus, those queer people on campus, have that support group, have that support and safe place so that they feel welcomed on campus. I think that is by far the most important thing that Safe Zone does.
Okay. So really making the campus a much more welcoming and inclusive place for people in the LGBTQIA plus community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And making sure that education really comes along with it, and making sure that, the campus as a whole is really educated about LGBTQIA plus issues so that they can be informed allies.
Okay. Well, that's great. Thank you so much. How many trainings does the Safe Zone project offer now, and what's involved in those trainings? How long do they take, and
Generally, we offer one student training and one faculty and staff training per semester. However, that can change pretty variably depending on who contacts us. And let's say, your school wants to put on a Safe Zone training, you can just reach out to one of us and we can get that set up for you. It doesn't have to be just within the parameters of that one training per semester for faculty and staff. We're more than happy to put on other trainings throughout the year as well.
Okay.
And in those trainings, we try to cover a broad range of topics in about a 2-hour window. So there's some history, there's some terminology, there's some role play based scenarios to help the participants know what to say and what not to say, and also provide them with a list of various resources that are both on campus and off campus. So it's a lot of material to cover for sure, but I think our participants would say that they do leave feeling more informed, at least in one area, because a lot of the stuff they might have already known about, but they maybe didn't know about some of like the queer identity development theory that we introduced, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's great. What percentage of the faculty would you say have gone through, or I should say faculty, staff, and then I'll ask about the students, but can you estimate how many or what percentage of faculty and staff on the campus have gone through a Safe Zone training?
Not off the top of my head. We do have a list on our LGBT resources website that lists every single faculty member and staff member from all three campuses, both at Edwardsville, Alton, and East St. Louis, that have gone through the training. So that just provides anyone who might need some ally support. They know that these people in this department or at this campus have gone through this training. They're there to lend an ear, so to speak. So, but in terms of percentages, I will say that the participation or the demand for the trainings has increased significantly. We usually cap our trainings at around 30 to 40 people per session, and they fill up so quickly. Mm-hmm. So the want is there. So I'm very inspired by that for sure.
No, absolutely. And another thing about that ally list is that one thing that Nick and I are working on this summer is going through and updating that ally list to make sure that by the time fall comes around, it'll be fully updated, and that'll be just another, it's already a great resource, but it'll be even more improved by the end of the summer. So just cleaning house, as it were.
Great. Well, and that's, I do have to say, that based on my personal experience, I know the first time I saw an email asking for people to sign up for the training, I waited and it was full by the time I got there. But I did make it through. I think the second time I received an email, I did go through the training, and so I just wanted to disclose that I have gone through the Safe Zone training here, and I think it is very helpful. It does help people, even people who are quite familiar with LGBTQIA plus issues. Still, it's nice to have that refresher, and it's also nice to be exposed to some of the more current information as well, and especially knowing where to refer someone to if someone comes in and needs some assistance. I think that's really helpful.
Absolutely,
as well.
Yeah.
So I did mention that I wanted to ask you a little bit about students. Now, do most of the students who go through the training, are they affiliated with student organizations, or are they just individuals who have an interest?
In my experience, I've noticed a lot more graduate students that are interested in these trainings, and particularly out of our college student personnel administration program. However, again, the range on student involvement, it goes from incoming first years. Our most recent training had predominantly undergraduate students. So not really a student organization like affiliation. It's just students that want to help their peers and want to be another advocate for them. So again, really inspiring.
No, it really is very inspiring. When I went through training to become a Safe Zone trainer, I attended a student training in person, and it was really inspirational to see all the students there and learning and really engaging with the material. And as Nick said, it really is just a wide range of students from first years to graduate students. It's all over the place.
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear. So, of course, since I arrived in July of 2020, the university's operations have been dramatically affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Yes. So I'm wondering how the pandemic affected the Safe Zone program.
There's a couple key ways that it affected us. First of all, obviously, we had to relook at our trainings. We had to transition trainings to an online environment. And I think I've personally been through two of them. And I think that what Nick and other people did, because that was before I kind of came on as co-chair, what Nick and other people did by transitioning these trainings to online were really successful. I think they're really successful in an online environment. And I was really impressed when I went through it the very first time, just, as a new individual myself before I came co-chair. And then the second thing that I think has been pretty successful, we've also transitioned all of our meetings online. Generally, we hold them on a Wednesday during a lunch hour is usually when we try to hold them, and we hold them on Zoom, and we get a really strong attendance almost every time. And I think that having them online through Zoom has been a bit of a boon to the Safe Zone Committee and has allowed for more participation. So that's at least some ways that it's been positively affected.
Yeah, and then apart from that, during that initial lockdown, there was a small collective of committee members that saw this downtime, so to speak, as a way to really think about what are some other resources or groups that could be created to help advocate for queer employees, queer students, and within the last year, we were able to successfully establish a queer faculty and staff association. So very exciting. So a lot of really good ideas and a lot of planning and a lot of new ways of thinking how to reach a broader audience has really come out of the pandemic. So I foresee the virtual training options still being offered as we transition back into in-person stuff, just as another way to reach more people. So yeah, this is one of the silver linings that have come out of this pandemic for sure.
Well, that's interesting. Often when I'm talking to faculty, they talk about the ways in which they struggled to make that transition. But hearing you talk about it, in some ways, the pandemic actually increased participation in the committee. And I really like the point that Mitchell made about the fact that by having meetings online, it opens them up to people who might not be able to attend if you have to get to a physical space.
Exactly, yes.
And particularly considering the fact that we are a university with multiple campus locations, that's always really nice to think about how do we make sure that people here in Edwardsville are not excluding people in Alton or in East St. Louis. And having some of those meetings remotely by Zoom is actually a really good idea. So what are the ways in which SIUE students, staff, faculty, and even community members can get involved with Safe Zone?
Sure. So a few years back, the Safe Zone Committee established a Safe Zone Scholarship, which is awarded annually to students who advocate on behalf of the LGBT community on campus. So if they're looking for a way to contribute financially, we will certainly take that. And all of the information for that can be found on the Safe Zone website. But this committee is open to all. It's not just open to faculty and staff. So if there are students that want to be more involved with the committee, they are more than welcome to reach out to us. We also actually on June 25th and 26th, we're going to be out at the Pride STL Pride Fest, hosting a booth on behalf of the university. So stop by, say hi. We'll be there. And then another way to get involved with Safe Zone, if you encounter or are in conversations with anyone who needs some assistance on what sort of resources are provided by the university and by the greater Metro East St. Louis area, we have a very comprehensive list on our university website that outlines all of the different resources that are available to you. So please reach out. Please get involved. We're always looking for new members.
No, I absolutely echo what Nick says, especially about resources and going to that website, the Safe Zone website. It's really an excellent place. It's kept up really well, and Nick and I are going to be doing some work on it in the coming weeks to improve it even more, as I kind of mentioned earlier. So any questions that they may have, anyone may have, please visit our website, but also please don't hesitate to reach out to Nick or myself.
Yeah, and our website is siue.edu/LGBTQIA. And then we have an email address as well. It's lgbtqia@siue.edu. A lot of letters, but it's all out there.
Well, that's really helpful because I do think that there are lots of opportunities that you've outlined. Are you still looking for volunteers to staff the booth at
Yes.
Pride STL?
Yes, absolutely. We still have some slots available. So the volunteer opportunity at the festival, it's really you're just hanging out at our booth and interacting with people that may stop by. It could be an alum. It could be a potential student. It could be a family. It could be current students, faculty, staff that are just enjoying the festival. Just a great way to interact with the community and tell them about all of the great things that are going on at SIUE. So it's a great outreach opportunity. We'll have a lot of different swag from different departments on campus to give away. So either stop by and say hi, or if you want to volunteer, just reach out to us.
Okay, great. Now, I do usually like to ask something about advice, and I'll get to that in just a second. But before we get there, could you each outline something about your vision for the future of Safe Zone?
I would love to see, I have a couple things. Our Safe Zone Scholarship Fund, I would love it to reach the status of being an endowed scholarship at some point. We have hosted some very successful fundraisers over the last couple of years, and so I would love to see those continue, to just having more opportunities to recognize student contributions either on behalf of the LGBT community or queer students who are advocating for themselves and for their colleagues. So that's one. And then I would love to also see us offer more trainings on a variety of different topics. Our current training model, as it stands, is it's very introductory level, which is great. But I would love to also branch off to focus on more specific content areas, whether that be on trans issues or on what it means to be queer and also a person of color and how that intersection collides. We touch on it briefly in our current training, but I think there's a lot more to be said about that. So I'd just love to expand our trainings and offer more scholarships.
No, I absolutely echo what Nick just said, but also with that, I think that something that I'm pretty passionate about, and I think that is really important for the campus as a whole, is just more ally involvement. The more allies that we can get involved and the more allies we can get through the training and educated, the more of a safe space SIUE can be and the more supportive SIUE can be for members of the LGBTQIA plus community. I think that's really the most important thing is making sure that more and more people are aware and educated, and that SIUE can be the most supportive community that it can be.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much. As I mentioned, I do like to end each of my interviews with by offering my guests an opportunity to offer some advice to listeners. So, what advice would you have to any member of the SIUE community or the larger community regarding LGBTQIA plus issues?
That is a very deep question. A very good question. With the current climate that we are in, this year, we're only into June, and we're seeing a record number of legislative acts that are going against LGBTQIA plus people. I think the last count was around 300. If I could offer any advice to anyone in the SIUE community, whether you identify as LGBTQIA plus or as an ally, for allies, encourage your queer colleagues to be as authentic and live as authentic as you can. On the opposite side, for my LGBTQIA plus colleagues and students, live proud and be bold. And this is such a critical time in our current climate to really show who you are, so that these kind of laws that are legislative acts that are going against the queer community can be combated. Just be bold, live your authentic self.
I love that, Nick. And I think just to kind of tack onto that, I think my advice is to get involved and to get educated. And I think that, whether that's getting involved and being educated by Safe Zone or getting involved in LGBTQIA plus issues and educating yourself, it doesn't matter. I think getting involved and getting educated is of the utmost importance, because if we do that and we create that kind of community, that safe space for LGBTQI plus people at SIUE, we can set ourselves apart and show that we don't stand for that kind of vitriolic hate that we have seen so much recently that Nick was just talking about. Get involved, get educated.
Well, thank you so much. That sounds like great advice. And I really like telling people that it's really important to educate yourself, to encourage other people to be educated, to be informed, and to take action. I think that's great advice. So thank you so much, Nick Niemerg and Mitchell Haas, for talking with us about your experiences, your work at SIUE and SIUE Safe Zone. I look forward to hearing more about you and Safe Zone in the future. And for our listeners, thank you for joining us. Stay safe and take care.
This has been Segue, a production of the Department of Mass Communications at Southern Illinois University Edwardsville. All rights reserved.